everyone. Welcome to today's episode of NAMI Maine Talks. My name is Jill Henderson, and I have the honor of serving as our Director of Development and Communications. And I am here today with my fabulous guest. Would you love to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Oakley McLeod. I'm the leader of the mental health softball camp. I go to Wyndham High School in Maine, and then I'll go to St. A's to play softball next year. Pretty exciting.
Oh, that's amazing. We are so excited to have you today. We're so excited to talk about the Mental Edge softball camp and how that got started and kind of what your program is all about. We're super excited to chat today. So to start with, if you would tell me just a little bit about the camp, about the program, what it consists of, so people who aren't familiar can learn about it.
Yeah, so I've been doing this softball camp for 2 or 3 years. I'm gonna have a camp soon in May, so I'm pretty excited. But this camp is for little leaguers, people under 12 to 6, and we're doing a bunch of softball games. We used to do it at Portland High School, but now we're doing it at USM again, which will be fun. But it's to produce mental health and show the game that I really love. So it's a good thing. But there's a lot of guest speakers. We have all the coaches in Maine, a lot of my teammates, a lot of other teammates from other schools. So it's a pretty good thing.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's so funny thinking about, you've been doing this for a few years now. When I first started at NAMI, I always think of you guys in your program because when I first took this job here, it was the first inquiry from our website that I was responsible for. So you were the first, this was the first project I ever worked on here at NAMI. And so just to see you guys still doing it, for us to still be a part of it is so exciting, just to me personally, but also to the whole organization. We love working with you guys. Um, I would love to know what, kind of inspired you to start this program. You have these components of working with the younger girls and also, the girls and softball players of your own age group that come together and do this camp. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how it got started or if there was any particular moment where you knew that you wanted to do this.
What inspired me, I've done softball since I was 7, and I've always not that young, but when I was around 10 or 11, I've always struggled with the game of it's a game of failure, and I've always struggled with mental health, especially in softball. I didn't like failing, and I decided when I was 16, I was I think we should make a difference because I've learned more of the game. I've learned from other people, especially my dad, about how mental health can affect young athletes. So I wanted to start them off young and get them to know mental health a little more, especially in sports. So
Absolutely. It really that's a really important point you make that sports for students in school, sports have this added pressure where you're not only dealing with, whatever your life is at home and whatever your life is at school and you have your schoolwork and your peers and, everything else that, makes being a kiddo difficult, and also exciting and magical, but those things can be a lot of stressors and then sports on top of that, it gives you a sense of community and a team and to know your peers and things like that. But it also does have that culture of, rewarding success or feeling guilt for failure. And it's super important to, be able to have those conversations when people are young and when, girls are just starting out in their sports career and kind of knowing how to handle those stressors as they get older. And so I think it's really amazing that you're working with, these, girls who are younger and they're just starting in their softball careers and their softball playing and, kind of having, role models to look up to who aren't just trying to better them, for their softball skills, but also for, their wellness and their mental health. So that's super amazing. Um, and we were just talking about so the components of the camp, older players working with younger girls. What has that meant to you? And then also, if you've had kind of conversations with, the peers around you that are also taking part in this program, what does it kind of mean to have that leadership role with those
after
with the
the
younger
camp
girls?
last year, I talked to some of my teammates, and they really enjoyed working with younger kids. A lot of them want to coach in their next few years, so I think that's a good thing. And when I was younger, I was a little shy, so I definitely would want an older girl trying to show me the ropes around softball and my like personality because they knew the game more than I did. So I definitely had some role models when I was younger. But yeah, all my friends really enjoyed the camp, and I really like working with kids. So
Awesome. Do you ever see coaching in your future? Do
I
you
I
think
do.
about
I really
that?
want to be a coach. I'm majoring in education, so I do want to be a teacher as well. So I think that's a good like path, like teaching and coaching. So
Yeah, that is a really like kind of, peanut butter and jelly style match, like that teaching and coaching kind
yeah,
of combo where you have those skills to, work with younger populations as an educator and, you know, teachers are just like so educators of all types are just so amazing to me because the ability to impart knowledge, especially to someone like younger and who's at a different level than you, is just so fundamentally impressive and so fundamentally important, like for, us as a society, but, just for the development of youth, both like, in academics and in life and in sports and those things. So I think that would be amazing one day. Um, thinking back to being in, those younger girls' place, I know you talked about how it's, great to have an older, player show you the ropes and, kind of help work you through things. Um, what do you think it, means for those players to have those older role models? And do you think that as they grow that they'll want to kind of, be in the similar roles of teaching that you guys are now?
again, like young girls, like they always need like a big role model. I think because like obviously they don't know like softball as much as like the older girls do. So I feel like it's a good thing to have an older girl. It doesn't matter like if they're really social, really quiet, they definitely need someone to teach them like lessons about the sport. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I remember being young and being just like so intimidated by the world and like the power of having a role model or like, almost like a big sister figure, in a way that like it is so truly life changing because, you're as a kid and youth, like there's so much, pressure in different ways, especially in sports. And you're so worried about how you're being perceived. You're worried about like what others are thinking of you. Like, what are the older kids thinking? Like, oh my goodness, like what are the older kids doing and all that. And like, to make that connection to have that connection between the younger girls and the older mentors, it takes that fear element out of it. That what are people thinking when you're able to directly have a dialogue with an older role model like you girls are, it takes that nervousness out of it and it empowers younger women a lot to be able to
Yeah.
learn like that.
I'm the oldest in my family, so I've never had the role model and stuff. But like I've always been like a younger girl on like multiple teams. 'Cause I've always played up. But now
Yeah.
since I'm like a senior, I'm 18. I'm like the oldest on my high school and travel team, so I feel like I'm now the leader. So it's just kind of weird.
Yeah, that's such a funny dynamic too. I mean, growing up, I was always like the baby of my family and, it was like everyone was older than me. That's always
Yeah.
how it felt. Everyone's older than me. And then like you get to this position where all of a sudden like, you are the older one and you're kind of in that now. Do you feel like the lessons you're learning now being, on your travel team and on your, home team where you are the oldest, do you feel like you're learning lessons that like you're prepping to take kind of with you into college?
Cause like again, I've always been pretty shy, so it's kind of weird. Like oh Oakley, like teach them this. It's like kind of weird because I've yeah again I've always been like the youngest on multiple teams. I've always played up. There's girls like 3 or 4 years older than me, so now I'm like the oldest, and I have to teach like younger kids and all this stuff. So
Yeah.
pretty fun.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And I mean, truly so many awesome, lessons and experiences that um you're able to take with you, as you, continue your softball career and also your education. Speaking of coaches, your parents have been very involved in this process. And so I'd love to hear. I know your dad's a coach, and his I believe at a separate school from where you go.
Yes.
So could you kind of like tell me what it's like to have your parents involved in this project and involved in what that support means, and also just kind of, what the reality of that is.
Yeah, I'll start with my mom. She's not like a coach or anything. She's very like she wasn't like a crazy athlete, but I know she really cares for our like cause and she's always there for me, especially
Yeah.
like she's there for my friends, so it's a good thing. And then my dad, yeah, he's coached a long time. I've always looked up to him. He's taught before and he's like a businessman now, but like he's always tried to teach me the journey and stuff and he's coached he's gotten a lot of athletes into college, so he wanted the same thing for me when I was going to St. Islam. So it's a pretty good thing and I like that he's there helping me out and he wants the best for me, so it's a good thing.
Oh, that's amazing. It's wonderful to see, especially like, you being in this place where you're kind of like, growing with this program. I mean, starting 3 years ago, it's, very different, starting as a, 15 or 16-year-old than, being about to go to college. And so to see this program grow with you, it's really wonderful to have that support from your parents also. Do you feel like your dad being a coach, how does that ever, you know, is there ever a disagreement in how to get things done with like your growing, burgeoning coaching styles and your dad's kind of classic way of doing things?
I'm not gonna lie, when I was like younger, he's coached me for a long time, but he stopped coaching me when I was like 16, so I've had a few years without him. But
Yeah.
when I was younger, he would always tell me what to do. He was very, very hard on me when I was younger, so I would always be like, "Yes, dad, yes, coach." But now, like, since he doesn't coach me anymore, he'll like tell me something. I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like I'm like whatever, because like I don't know, I'm just like old now. Like I know like the basics he's telling me. Like sometimes I'll forget to like I don't know, whatever, drop my hands or something. And he's like, don't drop your hands. I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the same stuff. But in the end, I know he wants to help me. I know he's always going to be a coach. He's coached football for a long time, baseball, softball, basketball, all this stuff. So I know he's just a coach naturally.
Yeah. You can't hang that hat up when you get
Yeah.
home. That's just always gonna be that way. It's that's super exciting though, and it's great to be able to see not only, experience of the sport and, learning things like that, but also learning from how someone coaches others and, seeing how your dad coached not only you, but other students and being able to use that not only in your own skills as a player, but in your skills as someone who is now coaching and mentoring younger folks. That's really awesome. So I would love to talk about, so as your program grows, it really feels like lots of different corners of the softball community are kind of, coalescing and starting to work together. I mean, I know some other, softball coaches and schools that have softball teams are, doing mental health awareness nights and things like that. How have you kind of seen, from your program, these like connections and that community kind of grow around your efforts here?
Well, like, yeah, again, like, there's multiple girls from different teams have went to my camp, and I have a lot of friends on other teams, so it's a good thing that they're trying to, like, raise the cause, and there's other girls who are trying to, like, do stuff for their team, and most of the coaches show up to my camp, so all of them are, like, behind my back and behind, like, mental health, because it's a big thing for everyone, so I'm glad I'm seeing that more, like, mental health games, all this stuff, and especially, like, yeah, the Wyndham team. There's a lot of rivals for Wyndham, but
Fair.
we're all family. There's a big softball community, so I bet we're all there for each other.
Yeah, I definitely there is like you'll never set the competition aside.
Yeah.
It's still sports, there's still teams and all that, but it's been really exciting to see not only like the schools and the programs, but also just like the parents and the players kind of, coming together and forming a community around not just, having the sports programming for the kids, but also the mental health programming. I'd love to hear kind of how you see that mission of mental health kind of coming to fruition in the camp. Like, what does it look like, kind of, for someone if they came to the camp that day, what does that mental health component and talking about the importance of, self-care and taking care of your mental wellness, what does that look like for the girls that attend the camp?
I feel like, yeah, it's a competitive I feel like it's a competitive game. They're still trying to do their best, do all this stuff. But like the talks we have and like there's like many guest speakers, I feel like they should get some out of it because they're like most of the guest speakers were athletes as well and they're in the same boat and there's a lot of people that have struggled with mental health and they just want to be there for like the young athletes growing up. So I feel like when they're there, I think they should like even say they strike out in the scrimmage. Still feel like it should be a good environment and we're all having fun. So
That
yeah.
is great, and that's so important to remember too. I mean, especially when doing any sort of competitive sports, it's like you are still youth. You are still like this is still time to have fun. Like it's still a game. Like it is still play. As important as it is. Even to like your identities and who you are as players and things like that. It's still you want it to be a source of joy and a source of happiness. And I think going to the camp and seeing just number one, how many people and how many girls are there to learn. I mean, it really is an incredible amount of, volunteers and, folks, the actual like attendees of the camp. It's really amazing to see so many girls in one place, like not only having fun and playing and learning, but also learning those skills that it's important to, take care of yourself. It's important to value yourself, who you are, and that your value as a person is not tied to your, successes and failures. So I think that's so incredible to um, just have that opportunity where it can be hard to get people together, especially I mean, we all went through COVID and what it meant to like have to be separated from people. So to have people together in a physical space, being able to make those memories, first of all, but also to make that, progress and all that stuff is really incredible. So, one of the things I always think of in how you put this tournament together, and like I was just saying, just the amount of, the amount of kids you have that sign up and all that, this is a huge amount of work. Totally. Like, I mean, we plan events here and we, know how much work goes into it. You have this community, but at the core of it really is you and your family. And you're also, the funds you raise, benefit us at NAMI Maine, where we're able to go into the community and we're able to bring mental health initiatives to life in schools across the state. And that is just a ton of work to put together. You are doing so much. Do you feel like there are any kind of lessons you're learning or, things that have stuck out to you as you're doing all this to put all this together and make all this awesome positive change in the community? But you also still need to, like, take care of your own self and your own mental health. Are there things you feel like you're learning through that experience?
When I like first did this camp, like when I was like trying to like text people to be involved, I didn't think anyone was gonna care. It's more like, oh, like what is this? But like a lot of people I explained the like event, they're like, oh, I'm so down for this. It'll be fun. So I feel like the involvement was like better than I thought, and as well as the people in the camp, like each year it's getting more and more big, and I feel like we're getting more and more people every year. So that's a good thing, and I'm really proud of um my family for helping me out with that. So
Yeah, that is and such a rewarding feeling too to, like, be worried, like, "Okay, I have this idea, I kind of have this dream, I wanna do this really cool thing, I wanna, like, make some good in the world," and, like, having that feeling, like, people gonna care? Are people gonna get on board? Are they gonna do this with me? And then, like, to have that rewarded with the support of the community is so amazing because it I mean, it's so important. It's so, impressive to have someone especially, I mean, a teenager who has, her entire own life going on to be like, "No, I wanna take the things I know, I wanna take the resources available to me, and I wanna, make this positive change, I wanna make things better." And then to have the community, kind of rally around you has that's really awesome. Do you, feel like, as you are getting ready to go to college, does it, help with, the future of the camp and these things to like know that you have like a team that's really invested in it?
I feel like in college I want to still like be involved with this. I want to like join a club or something, and then like I'll still be involved. Like when I come back for like stuff, I still hope we can do this camp, and then more
Yeah.
people will be involved, like especially the underclassmen. So in college, I'll definitely take my own advice and people like who have taken the camp and still embrace mental health.
Absolutely. And that's a good thing to reaffirm every once in a while. Like, I am still listening to my own advice. I am still using my skills and all the tools in my toolbox, because college it's so exciting and it's so different, and it's just this like first true like burst into freedom that is amazing, but also to have still that connection to your own community, and even like just the connection to where you grew up is huge. And so I think that'll be a really awesome anchor point for you to still come back and be involved with this thing that you've grew and brought to fruition, and you can still come back and be a part of that, but also while going to this next chapter of your life and being able to like grow as a person yourself.
Obviously, I'm not always gonna be so positive. Like when I strike out, I'm not always gonna be like laughing after, but
Yeah.
at least I'll still like try to take my own advice and be more calm. Especially when I'm going to like this next level, I still have to be confident in myself and my peers. So
Yeah, absolutely. And not only sharing those things you kind of know about the importance of mental health for yourself, but also that makes you such a positive influence for the folks around you. I mean, you'll be with other freshmen, other sophomores and juniors and seniors from college and everything like that. But you're going to be with a lot of other girls and a lot of other folks your age who are going through this like same experience of like a brand new place and a brand new thing, and all these tools and all these things you've learned and all these things that you've helped impart onto others, especially people younger than you. You'll be able to role model those things for people your own age just as much as yourself. And I just commend you for how impactful that will be for the people around you. It's really important, and it's really wonderful. So I always, anytime I have the privilege of being the interviewer on our podcast here, I'd love to ask people if they had pie in the sky, no limits, whatever you'd like to see for this program, for your softball camp, for the mental health component, if there was just no obstacles in the world, like where would you dream for this program to go?
well, obviously, I want everyone to be positive all the time, but obviously that's
Yes.
not gonna happen. But
Lofty goal. Lofty goal. I love
I want this
it.
program to like keep every year to keep growing, like a lot of college athletes again, they're still trying to embrace mental health, and we have this girl named Brie Ellis. She's like the best player in like the world for college softball. And we're having at our camp, and she still struggles with mental health, even being the best player. So I just want everyone to be positive. So
Yeah, that's a super exciting point too. You have these guest speakers coming in, one of whom is Bree, and that is so wonderful to have a role model kind of coming from a different level of the sport, especially from girls playing when they're 6, 7 years old, and seeing like, oh my goodness, like this is the like pinnacle of being awesome at softball. And also still having her be like, "Yeah, and mental health can still be tough for me too, and I still need to learn the things that you girls are learning." Like, that's so powerful and impactful. Yeah, so thinking about how many people it takes to put a program like this together, and all the organizations you work with. Is there any folks from your crew or from your community that you'd like to give a little shout out to, make sure people get their flowers?
I have a few. One, Sarah Jama. She's a USM coach. She helped us get the field, and she did a lot of guest speaking. And she's a very good coach. I really appreciate the USM like program in softball. Also, Addison DeRoche. She's going to Florida State. That's really great. And she's been one of my good friends. She's helped me done a lot of the. We did like a cornhole tournament, then we did like the camp, and she's helped me a lot. She's been a good friend. A lot of the high school coaches have been a great source. They've all helped me, and they've all like embraced it to their athletes and teammates. So it's a good thing.
Awesome. Yeah, and we love that it takes place at USM now. I mean, we started with the Wade Millett Memorial Foundation. We're doing some other work with USM Athletics, and it's great to see that program where we've had such a wonderful response to like our mental health programming for them to be excited about that mission and to work with you guys and to kind of have that venue and that central spot to like really put on an awesome program. That's amazing. So we are so excited for by the time this comes out, the camp will have happened. We will have magically, time traveled through, and um, we are so excited to see how the camp goes this year. We are so excited to see all the amazing things that you do in the future, both on the field and at school and in your life. And we, really appreciate you coming here and chatting with us and, being able to talk about this program. We're so grateful for you.
Thank you.